and into the pesky pole. And that's going to get down the line. That one looks like it'll stay fair. And goodbye, home run. The pesky pole.
The 2-2. Swinging a fly ball deep down the right field line. Slicing by the pesky pole. And that ball hits the pesky pole. Which means it's going home run.
3-2 high fly down the right field line. Slicing toward the pesky pole into the corner. And that ball is gone. A green can. Now in a high fly down the right field line, headed toward the pesky pole. Is he going to tuck it inside? Indeed he does. That is gone.
Welcome to another episode of the Pesky Podcast. I'm your host, the Ritt. With me is the OG, George Sutherland, and my main man, DC. What's going on, DC? How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
Not bad, not bad. George, what about you? What's going on with you? How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Everything is really good these days.
Well, my man Eminem made a song. George, you might not know it. Cleaning out the closet. But so far, the playoffs aren't even over yet. And the Red Sox are starting to clean out the roster. So let's start with that. You know, I tweeted out there yesterday how the two of the biggest problems the Red Sox had all season, pitching and defense. And we've seen so far the first two things that they did. So Feebles, Bush, gone. So let's start with DC. Let's start with you. What did you think when you read about Bush and Feebles both being gone?
I really wasn't too surprised. I definitely wasn't surprised about Bush. Team ERA has been pretty terrible the last two years. Can't make it through more than 3-4 innings. You know, 1.5 times through the lineup isn't going to do it. Feebles, I was a little surprised on, I guess, but you know, he's been there for so long. And like George was saying when we were in the chat, you know, great minor league coach. Obviously 102 errors this year, I think it was, something like that. Just can't be happening, especially when you're an infield instructor. But definitely wasn't surprised about the Bush. I'm fairly happy about that. You know, I hate to see somebody lose their job, but they need definitely improvement in the pitching department.
Yeah, I sit there and, like, with Feebles, there was a couple games where, you know, we could have sit there and sent someone and he didn't, and we lost. There was a couple games where he sent people, you know, and we lost. So Feebles was kind of like damned if he did, damned if he didn't sometimes. But it was a little weird because didn't somebody put an article out how Feebles was going to start working with Valdez, right, you know, in the offseason? George, right. What were your thoughts?
Well, I mean, Bush is no surprise. I mean, you know, let's face it, the pitching staff was horrible. I mean, it wasn't entirely his fault if you look at the flotsam and jetsam that Heim kind of dumped on his lap. Nobody was going to succeed with that, so there had to be a sacrificial lamb, and Dave Bush was that guy. Carlos Feebles is a bit of a surprise to me. He's very tight with AC. He's a very engaging guy. I got to see him in Portland a couple of years ago when he was the probably 3-4 years ago now, when he was the manager up here. Very engaging, good teacher, good person. However, again, when you can't fire a whole team, somebody has to go. So he was the third base coach, and he didn't do a bad job. And he was the infield coach. That's the thing that got him fired. They said he was tight with AC, and that surprised me. AC had already said that he was going to play a lead role this winter in helping make the defense better with the infielders. Mm-hmm. I guess that's not going to happen now. You know, I think Eddie Romero, who's currently running things while they're in search of a new CBO, went to AC and said, look, Carlos is gone. And I know that had to be a hard conversation to have, but I suspect Romero was behind this. And the other thing, too, is, you know, with the rule changes this year, defense is now important again. You know, we had an entire generation of players who've gotten away with marginal or even shoddy defense, and the new rules have put a premium on it. So, you know, the Red Sox are trying to get out in front of the curve in that, and I think it's a really good thing. I'm just sorry that Carlos Fabulous was one of the sacrificial lambs because he's a good guy. He'll catch on with somebody.
Okay, DC, huge question for you. Do you think it's a coincidence the same day Feebles gets left go, there was a second baseman in Boston, a former second baseman, front row watching a Celtics game with the biggest smile he's ever had on his face, Dustin Pedroia.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't look into that too much. I think he was just there. I don't think he really wants to get into coaching just yet. He's a pretty private guy. I mean, I'd be obviously pretty stoked if he was a part of the organization. I just don't see it just yet.
George, what are your thoughts if they would make Pedroia?
I think I don't see him becoming a full-time coach. I think you'll see what he did last spring training, where he comes down and works with the infielders for a little bit. AC will have him in there. He's still got his boys are still young, okay, and I think he wants to be a good parent and kind of be a good role model for them. So I don't see him jumping into that fire just yet. Maybe maybe 3 or 4 years down the line, yeah. But I think right now, no. Roving instructor, kind of like all the veterans do who come back, yes. But I don't see him full time. I think DC's right. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I do love how Pedroia always comes back to help out. He helped out Devers. There was videos of him work, just going back, getting the fundamentals again. I think that's one thing Petey was always amazing at. He was always dirty, and he always stuck with the fundamentals. And there were plenty of times that you two and myself were on the podcast talking about how horrible the fundamentals were, the basics, that little leaguers learn that were forgotten, by an MLB team. So let's go DC. Do you have any thoughts or who you might want to see to replace Bush as our pitching coach?
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to sit here and bullshit. I haven't really looked into that too much. I don't really have too many names on the top of my head to think about.
And anybody that you might want to, that you would love to see in that role?
I mean, I would love to see a guy like Pedro Martinez, but he's not going to do something like that. You know what I mean? He's got a great gig going. Yeah, I don't know. Put me on the spot there, big dog.
George, what about you?
I'm with DC. I really don't have any candidates that jump right up and say, hey, this guy might work. I mean, generally, pitching coaches are not star pitchers. Mm-hmm. Okay? They were kind of journeymen, learned their craft and had some success. I really couldn't even venture a guess of who the Sox might be looking at.
Yeah, the Major League roster wasn't the only one to start getting rid of some people. AAA team got rid of the pitching coach Paul Abbott and the assistant hitting coach Mike Montville. Man, it's kind of like if you bring in people up and they don't seem to be ready. Bush wasn't able to sit there and help them out. You send them back down, and the pitching coach still wasn't able to work with them very well. Like, the Red Sox's pitching is the number one thing they got to, and then it's defense. So I love how so far we're a week and a half in the playoffs, and they're already addressing key problems throughout the season. So, DC, do you possibly think this is a good omen so far, that the ownership and the people that are putting the wheels in motion until we get a GM actually addressing what we need?
I mean, I think – sorry, my daughter's in the background going nuts.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay.
I mean, I think it's a good move because obviously we're already a step behind, still waiting to, Chaim Bloom's replacement. So I think you got to make a lot of these moves, while you can to kind of keep on pace. The one thing I worried about was, not hiring a replacement and then going in the free agency, how Kennedy said it was going to be a broad search. So, it just worries me that we might get a little bit behind, signing some big names that are out there. I don't want to miss out on guys like Yamamoto or Aaron Nola, just because we don't have a guy in charge. Not sure where that power lays. I think George is right. I think Eddie Romero is the one running the show right now. But yeah, I think it's a good thing. They kind of got to save face and show that they're trying, because obviously the fan base is pretty upset with the ownership team right now. So I think it's probably the smartest decision on their part, and I'm happy with it. I'd rather get the ball rolling sooner than later.
One person that we could probably pretty much say is off the table to replace Chaim Bloom, and that's the Diamondbacks, Hazen. George, what do you think about the job he's doing so far over there in Arizona? And the playoffs, they're one win away from advancing and eliminating the Dodgers of all teams.
Yeah, Hazen has done an outstanding job. He's done a great job in drafting. He's got a very good young team that I don't think really recognize how good they are. And you're right. I don't think that they pry him loose and get him back into Boston. It would be nice, but I don't see the Diamondbacks letting that happen. Yeah, he's done an outstanding job, and you're right. The D-backs win tonight. They send the Dodgers packing, and that'll be a story.
Now, what is the rule? Once the team is eliminated from the playoffs, then they can talk to GMs?
I think that's how it goes. I mean, I'm sure there's background feelers,
Yeah.
third parties, plus Hazen knows, everybody in Boston. He's probably they're all friends, behind the scenes, so, the quote, informal discussions might have happened, but yeah, I think that's the rule. I think you have to be eliminated before you can have real talk, so that you don't, upset the team that's still in the playoffs. It's not like college football where, people get 2 games to go in the season and somebody already gets hired for the next best job and he's out and they screw that over. But not in this case.
Well, DC, one of your good friends, Andrew Parker, he went and tweeted out yesterday, Christian Arroyo, Caleb Hamilton, and Kyle Barraclough will have all elected free agency. So Arroyo and Barraclough, I don't think they make much of a difference, elected free agency. My big thing is Caleb Hamilton, because he was possibly the only MLB ready catcher that could come up if Wong or McGuire get hurt. So what do the Red Sox do now that they have, technically no major league ready catcher able to come up? Kyle Teal is there, but he is far away from being MLB ready.
That's a good question. Obviously, I think they're very sold on Connor Wong. I'm not a big fan of Reese McGuire, but they obviously see something and then I don't. So like you said, if one of them go down, I think they go out and sign a veteran this offseason. The guy that's on the fringe, just looking for a job, and keep him in the minors until he's ready. And then as far as Barraclough and Arroyo, that doesn't surprise me. Arroyo probably wants to catch on somewhere. Obviously, he wants consistent. I mean, he's not going to get that consistent at ABs and A majors, I don't think, but maybe a better opportunity to be on the team itself, and not spending time back in AAA than backing up. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think they go outside that for catcher.
Okay, George?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't hazard a guess in terms of candidates, but there's enough guys out there that are, getting along in their careers that would be happy to have a contract, and if they bounced up and down, and they'd be okay with it.
So let's broaden the horizons a little bit. Let's talk MLB postseason so far, because man, it's a crazy one. The AL East is 0-7. I know DC that our good friend Josh has been going crazy, with the whole Orioles. But going against that Rangers team is something different. And going against Nathan Eovaldi, this is playoff Eovaldi. What big surprises have you seen or have you thought so far in the postseason?
I mean, obviously, I got to touch on Arizona. They've been doing something that obviously I don't think anybody even thought they'd get close to. They're on the brink of eliminating the Dodgers, which is a juggernaut. And even the Twins. I mean, I know they lost the other day, but take one in Houston. I think that was huge. They surprised me. I mean, it's really cool to see them, get in and make some noise. Obviously, I think Houston takes that, but I think the biggest surprise is Arizona. I'm not too surprised with Orioles. I mean, they just need a little bit more pitching. If they piece that together, they're going to be a very, very dangerous team. I do feel bad for Josh. I was supposed to possibly go to the ALCS if they made it. They had the ticket. So he's handled it well, though. Proud of him.
Yeah. Oh, man. Just it hurts, though. When you have 3 teams representing the AL East and we can't catch a win at all. Did either one of you guys see with the Atlanta Phillies game 2 the catch by Harris and then the throw out, because Harper? Did any of you guys catch that at all?
I saw highlights of it. They're doing well right now, though, the Phillies. I think they're up 7-1 or something, maybe even more.
Yeah,
7-1, top 6.
You sit there and think that the playoffs could be going all over the place. If the Braves get eliminated by the Phillies and then the Dodgers are out, you have Phillies, Arizona. I don't think nobody could have picked that, Man, Houston's leading against Minnesota, but aren't they back at Minnesota right now?
Yeah.
So
yes.
And then, Texas is just waiting. So, and to even think about giving Eovaldi, days rest where he could start again, that's crazy. Because we know from 2018, Eovaldi just wants to rock. So, George, what about you? What are some things in the playoffs that surprised you so far?
Well, remember early in the summer when we thought all 3 wild cards were coming from the AL East? Everybody got swept. Okay, and that says a lot. Toronto's young core was supposed to be a force right now. Not so much. The Rays with the injuries and other nonsense. See also Wander Franco. It caught up to them. They started out of the gate like gangbusters, and then kind of barely hung on towards the end. They couldn't draw 20,000 fans for a postseason game. That tells you a lot right there. And after this, I'm beginning to wonder if their model is working. They're built for a sprint, not for a marathon. And the other person who I think might be in the hot seat is Kevin Cash. He hasn't been able to deliver, and it's all about results. I agree with DC. It wasn't a bad thing the Orioles lost. Okay, they're a good. They're a nice young team. It'll be good experience for them. Next year, we'll see. The big thing with them will be: did they learn something? Did they take a step forward or a step back? If they take a step back, not necessarily a bad thing because they can coalesce around the nucleus. And plus, their farm system is still potent. My goodness. Twins, it's nice to figure that they learned how to win in October again. Houston looks like they're ready to repeat, and Texas is running a very hot hand right now, and they are dangerous. Watch out. National League, Diamondbacks and Phillies look like they're out to get it, and the Phillies are on a revenge tour. Okay, they want that badly. And the D-backs, I don't think they know how good they are. That's a scary thing. But yeah, I mean, this postseason's been, pretty interesting. In the games, in terms of action, are they I think the ALCS and the NLCS may be longer than 4 games, but the World Series, no matter who comes out, it looks like it could be a 7-game series. This has been a good postseason for fans watching baseball.
Yeah, I seen a tweet out there. It was kind of made me chuckle. I think Tyler Milken is the one that put it out there that Abreu and Valdez had the same amount of season hits as Vasquez. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, he hasn't even played yet. They have him sitting the bench, and that's something pretty funny there. So, me personally, I'm looking at the hungriest team. It's got to go to the Phillies. Aaron Nola is in contract year. He's doing everything that he can. Zach Wheeler looks amazing. Like, he was one heck of a signing for them. Harper is doing, Bryce Harper things. It seems to me like, okay, yeah, he was drafted by the Nationals, but his attitude and mentality kind of make me believe he is definitely a fit for the city of Philadelphia. What do you think, DC?
Bryce? Sorry, cut out a little bit there.
Yeah, Bryce Harper.
Yeah, I think he relates really well with the fans, the blue collar, kind of attitude. I think it's a home run of a signing. And I think he was bred for that city. I'm really happy that they have him. Stoked, jealous though.
Yeah. Let's sit there and let's bring this back a little bit. DC, you requested it. So let's bring her back. Fair or foul? So we got to get more of these fair or foul questions in here at all times, because sometimes I kind of miss them too, DC. So the first fair or foul question, DC's gonna love this one. Alex Verdugo had a better season than Yoshida. DC, you're up.
I'm going to go foul. I think offensively, Yoshida got him. They both tailed off for the second half of the year. Defensively, obviously, Verdugo has him. I think that's where a lot of his war comes from, is his defense. But offensively, Verdugo had less home runs, less RBIs, worse batting average. His OPS was 40 or 50 points lower. I think Yoshida has him.
George?
Yeah, I'd say foul as well. For all the reasons DC noted. It's, if the defense, far and away better. I mean, you can't even compare the two. But everything else was there. And, considering the adjustment that Yoshida made to, American baseball, I think it was great.
And I will follow you guys with foul. Alex Verdugo had.
Did I hear that right, DC?
He had the better moments. He had more moments that meant more to the season than Yoshida. But stats don't lie. So Yoshida had a better season than Verdugo. So, George, next up, Jarren Duran is on the trading block.
Fair.
Ooh. What makes you think that?
I think you saw enough of him this year and the changes that he made to his game that he demonstrated that he can get on base. And when he gets on base, he's explosive. I mean, we know that, okay, because he's got jets for feet. He is not a great outfielder. Let's be honest, okay? Playing center field is not his forte. He's out there because he can run under a ball and catch it. I think they're going to try to sell high here. I think that, some of the other background stuff with him, I think that the team wants to get away from. But I think there's a team out there that will say, I want a young, speedy outfielder, and who can hit and go the opposite direction. So I think he's definitely a candidate to go.
Okay, DC, what about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go fair. I think it'd be irresponsible not to put him on the block, or at least put him out there in offers. They have a lot of needs. They have a lot of left hand hitting outfielders. A plethora of them. So if you can move one in a deal or in a package to get a guy like Corbin Burns, something like that, I think he definitely got to pull a trigger. Sell high, like George said. He obviously had a really good spurt there. Then he had some injuries, and the mental health came up again. Not saying that's a reason to get away from him, but if you can sell high on him now and get a good piece, why not? I definitely think you have to.
I will go foul. For the reason of he was injured at the end of the season, so people might not try to give you the best package, considering. Two, George, I think you're 100% right. He's not a center fielder. We got Cedane Rafaela for that. But I think if you can move him to a corner, I think that ups him a lot better. It gives him a better chance. I can see him moving over to the right field spot. And I see him doing fine over there.
If you're going to keep him, I think he plays left field, because I don't think he has the makeup, especially at Fenway, to handle the right field in Fenway. I think he's fine in left field, as a something less than a center fielder in left field. But I just don't see it, particularly at Fenway. I just don't see him making that adjustment. That's just my opinion.
You think Verdugo's going to get traded, take his spot in right field? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, I don't think Verdugo's gonna make it to the season.
No,
he's gone. I agree. I wanted you to say it out loud. I want you to start the acceptance.
Hey, DC, I will sit there and be the first. I loved them the whole first half of the season. I was 100%. I'm getting choked up over here, man. I was 100%, on him, just because I knew he was going to be our leadoff man. There was no one else that could do it. Nobody. And I respected him for that. So, but I think Jared Duran will be on the team. I don't think Verdugo will be. So
you said crazier things. So, you said Verdugo was going to lead off, and Verdugo fucking led off. So, yeah, no, I mean, sorry, I got off the rails there. I'm a little tired.
No, it's fine, man. Next up, we're gonna go DC. We're gonna hit you hard in the heart. The Red Sox will trade Chris Sale this offseason.
So, I'm gonna go with my heart. I'm gonna go foul, and I say that for a couple of reasons. Well, basically, one good reason is, we don't have a new chief of baseball, officer yet. But just the fact that Cora put that out there that, right now he'd be going in as the opening day starter shows that Cora wants him around. You know what I mean? Cora wouldn't say that if he didn't. Not saying he deserves that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they get at least two frontline guys. I hope they do anyway. But I'm still hanging my hat on moving him to the bullpen. Put him in a one inning role. I know it's an expensive, price for him, but better than him making 5 starts and spending 2 or 3 months on the IL. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go foul just by the comments made by Alex Cora. And I think, I don't know if they're thinking that, but I'd really like to see him go to the bullpen. I think he'll be better there, short spurts. Obviously relievers can get hurt too, but I think with that gas, he would fare pretty well at the back end of the bullpen. I'm not saying have him close games or anything, but obviously if it came down to it, put him out there, see what happens. I think Kenley's gone after this year. So, so is Sale at this point. So that's a moot point. So never mind.
Okay, George, what about you?
Fair. I've said it a lot lately. And DC's point is, and we've discussed it here, is the fact that, I like to see him in the bullpen. But right now, the bullpen is a strength of this team. Okay? There is a contending team that will want Chris Sale. But I think the Red Sox have seen enough. It's like, they close their eyes, fold their hands and pray, dear God, please let him be healthy. All right. And you can't go through a season like that. He's extremely fragile. All right. And given where this team is, you can't put the mantle of, number one, or even he really isn't. He's more like a number three these days. But he's out there and sees himself as a number one. And he's one pitch away from being on the DL. I mean, he doesn't have a stop button. All right?
Mhm.
He goes out there and airs it out all the time, and that's what gets him in trouble. He doesn't know how to control that adrenaline rush when he gets it and he gets pumped up. So I think the Red Sox say, all right, you know what? I got 1 year. They'll probably have to eat anywhere between 50 and 75% of his probably 50% of his contract. I don't think they may only have to eat 40%. Somebody will want him, all right? That feels that they need to make a difference. I think that comes if they get like a Nola and a Burns, okay? I think if you see those two signings, Chris Sale's days are numbered here, okay? Because they get Bayo and they can slot 4 and 5, and if they sign everybody's favorite unicorn, then all bets are off. He's definitely out the door. But if you see them sign Nola and Burns or something along those lines, Chris Sale's on a train out of here.
Well, going off of what you said, George, I'm going to go fair also for one big reason. I think Sale and paying half of his contract, along with Whitlock and a few others, are going to be offered to Milwaukee for Burns. So
yeah.
I see Sale not being here. But on the opposite side of that, if we don't get 2 starters, then we have to keep them. And that's just really a bad thing to look at. Like I don't see us getting Nola. Not the way he's been playing. I think he might end up giving the Phillies a hometown discount to stay there. But when we were talking to this past week, and Chris was talking about, if we sign Ohtani, Yamamoto, and who did he say? He said Burns or Montgomery, someone like that.
Montgomery, yeah.
He goes, we have 2 starters this year, and then we got the third one for the following year that could bump Bayo back to a 4. Like I like his thinking in that, but do we want to sit there and put all our eggs in one basket with the hopes of Ohtani can pitch, as good as he has, or not? So that's something there. But personally, I'm going to say Sale will be traded. I don't know if it's going to be at the beginning of the season, midway in the season, at the trade deadline, but I don't see him finishing out the entire season. So
I think he's gone at the winter meetings.
George, next up, I know that's why I didn't want to even ask you, DC, because I know you and Sale go way back. So, but George, next up, fair or foul? Tristan Casas does not get an extension this offseason.
Ooh. I think fair. I think that the Red Sox are probably going to hold off a year and probably give it to him at the end of next year.
DC, what about you?
I'm going to agree with George. I go fair. I think they have a lot more other needs they need to lock up. Obviously, he's a very crucial part to our future, but, just for flexibility, reasons, I think they hold off until at least next year after the season. Fill in other pieces that they really need right now.
Yeah, I will follow you guys and say fair also, just because of, we have to work on defense. We have to work on starting pitching. Like starting pitching, like I wouldn't care if we went out and signed 3 starting pitchers. Like, I shit you not. I would love that. But I don't know. Like it's crazy how so much we need, but offensively we were close to the top in almost every category on offense.
Just need consistency on offense.
Yeah.
Fix up the base running. I think we ran into a lot of outs that screwed the game for us. I forget what game it was that. Oh, it was against the Dodgers when they're in the bottom of the ninth, and Connor Wong rounds second without looking, runs into it. The runner on third. Stuff like that happens at the wrong time.
Yeah. So let's go, DC. You're up. Fair or foul? Let's see. Justin Turner will be in the Red Sox uniform next year.
I'm gonna be optimistic and say fair. I think he loves it here. Obviously it was only 1 year that he spent here, but created ties with the community. His wife seems to like it. I do all those events in Boston, which I know they did in LA, but I think they find a way to keep him around. He's one of the most consistent bats we had in the lineup, and playing on 1 foot for half the season, if not more, and still putting up those numbers is impressive. That's the kind of guy you want in the locker room. We talked about it since he got hit in the head, in the face in spring training. Just having that presence and that veteran leadership is huge, and I think they bring him back.
George, what about you?
Yeah, I think that the Red Sox desperately need him in the clubhouse. Turn a tough season too. We know what he brought. He did. He obviously loved the city. Okay, he made a difference in the clubhouse. I mean, you could see that. And if the team is going to get better with some young players, you need that steadying hand as a veteran. And he's an approachable guy. Plus, you're trying to teach him to play the right way. Can you think of anybody else that you'd rather have as an example? I can't.
Okay, me. This is tough for me because the person that I want them to sign can only play one position this year. And if they sign Ohtani, we can't have JT play first or third. But we need his leadership there. Because I don't think there's anybody else, maybe Trevor Story, Chris Sale, that has some good leadership skills. Like, other than that, we have a young team, or a relatively young team.
And going through a lot of changes too with leadership. Obviously the manager's still there, but front office, changes. The pitching, third base coach, obviously, infield instructor. There's a lot of changes going on, so you need a little bit of stability. Like I said, he's only been here a year, but I think he adds that, to a lineup, to a clubhouse.
Yeah, like he came in and he took that leadership role, and he didn't take it like on his own. It was just the guidance he was able to give, to everybody. The class act that he was able to, I might be hurt, but I'm still gonna play. Right. Like that's a first class act there. It's hard for me. I'm gonna say the ball went over, but Verdugo reached out and caught it. So I'm gonna stay away from that one personally. Because I want Turner to stay, but I want Ohtani to be DH also. So it's a toss up for me. So next up, fair or foul, we'll go with George. Let's go fair or foul that the Red Sox next year will still be left-handed heavy in the lineup.
I think that's fair, unless they do some really drastic changes. If you go around the infield, first and third are left-handed hitters. Yoshida's a left-handed hitter in left field. Verdugo, if he stays, he's a lefty. Duran. They need some right-handed bats. And there's been some talk, and you guys know I love Juan Soto, and I'd love to see him here, but he's another left-handed bat. Unless they suddenly do some real wholesale changes, and they're going to be left-handed heavy. It's the nature of what they are. It's also a thing that'll kill you because now teams can set up against you. Yeah.
DC, what about you?
I'm going to say it's fair, but I think by a small margin. I don't think anything like this year. I'm still manifesting that they go out and make a trade for Luis Robert. Then I want them to still sign Tim Anderson. He's a player option. Put him at second base. Adds a little bit of 2 right-handed bats. Obviously, that's a wish list and a half because obviously it's going to take some key pieces to get Robert. But I think you put those 2 in the lineup, shuffle it around a little bit. I think that makes some noise. Fill in the starters. So I think they're gonna be left-handed heavy, but I think maybe 5-4 at this point.
Is Merrifield? Is he a right-handed bat? By
I think
chance?
switch.
He's a switch. So
I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong about that.
I'm going to sit there and say fair that they will be left-handed heavy again. They have too many pieces to try to trade that are left-handed bats. Unless you're going to trade two lefties for a righty, that makes some pop. Like it's
that's right.
hard.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. Good. So George stole my thunder. I want Merrifield to come in. He played second base. He plays outfield.
I like him a lot.
And he's been around for quite some time.
He'll steal you some bags too, which is huge.
Yep.
Especially this day and age, we got to kind of adapt. With the games going with all the stolen bases. I think adding speed, having guys like Rafael who has story can steal you 15, 20. You had a guy like Merrifield in there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I mean that's a win, and he'd be pretty cheap, I think, because he's like 30. He's 30,
36.
36.
30, I want to say 36. So
he actually might be a little bit younger, like 33, 34, but I could be wrong.
No, I want to say 35, 36. So George is right
35.
there looking it up right now.
Yeah, it'll be 35 next year. Yeah.
So
plus you put 3 guys with speed in the lineup. It's not just stealing bases. It's station to station stuff. First to third, second at home. That makes a difference. And you can pile up some crooked numbers real quick.
So last one we're gonna sit there and do fair or foul. It has nothing to do with the Red Sox, but Acuna will not get NL MVP. I'll let DC go first.
That's tough, but looking at the numbers, the year that he had, I don't see how you don't give it to him. So I think it's foul. I think he gets it, but I've been surprised before with these before. So
George,
foul. He deserves it. I mean, his numbers are incredible this year. He's an athlete, and I think the new rules have actually made him a better player.
Mm-hmm.
Because of his ability to steal bases. He's got power. He's got speed. I mean, he's got it all, and he's fun to watch play.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we might not watch too much more of him in the postseason. With the Phillies where they're playing.
Yeah, midway through the 7th, and it's 8-2 now.
So I'm going to say foul. I don't know. Has there ever? How long, or has there ever been a co-MVP?
Ooh.
Because I don't know. A lot of the writers were talking, a lot of people about Mookie Betts' season. So I don't know. It could be a it could be. It's crazy. Like you're never going. I don't think we're ever going to see a 40-70 again, ever. But then again, Acuna could go out and do it again next year too.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. It's one of those crazy things where we think it's going to be a sure lock, and it might not be. Because we're just looking at his stolen bases and his home runs instead of the complete player. Freddie Freeman's another one that's looking, as MVP type numbers. But when you look at the Dodgers lineup, Mookie, Freddie, Will Smith. Like, you're pretty well protected in that lineup for, and it's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
So, but man, guys, it's been quite some time since we've been able to sit and talk, like all three of us. So
Yeah, it's not me. It's my fault.
No, we're good these. I'm just saying it's. I kind of miss these moments. You know what I mean? Where we just sit and talk. So DC, what do you want to talk about now? We'll sit there and we'll go around to close the show out. We all pick a topic. Let's go.
I'm just excited, for the off season. I think finally maybe ownership, learn their lesson. Excited to see where the team's going. Obviously, we have a young team, in a lot of aspects, a lot of young guys that are coming up and, be starting the year with the team. Really excited to see how, Devers come back and responds defensively next year. I think he'll put a lot of work in this offseason. Really excited to see how free agency turns out. I don't know if that's going to turn into a disappointment, but like I said, I think they've learned their lesson, even though they should have, a long time ago, especially with the amount of money they charge for, tickets, everything at Fenway. I think this, about time they get back to the old Red Sox. I'm not saying to go out and throw a bunch of money at somebody, but, make a splash. I think contracts like Chris Sale, Carl Crawford, makes them a little nervous. Just looking forward to see who they bring in.
Sandoval, yeah.
I actually try to forget him. I'm really sad that you brought that up. But no, just excited to see where we're going to go this offseason. Really excited for the free agency. Just want to make a splash. Just please.
My biggest Pablo Sandoval moment I remember was being at a game, guy on second base, he comes up, and I get up to leave, and the person next to me is like, "The game's not over yet." I said, "Yeah, it is. Sandoval's going to strike out," and he struck out on a ball that hit in front of the plate and bounced home, and he swung. I'm like, told you. It was horrible. So, George, what about you?
For me, it's what the Red Sox do in the offseason. I mean, there's a lot riding on their selection of the next CBO. I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Romero is that guy. He's certainly, Sam Kennedy put him in charge in the interim, and he's starting to show that he can do the job. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that. I think they're currently debating right now do they need to go outside of the organization? They have a lot of talented people inside the organization that were kind of marginalized when John Henry decided to go, with the latest, hot thing and go Tampa Bay, in Boston, and they brought in Bloom. I think a lot of guys may have gotten their noses bent out of joint a little bit. I think the farm system's in great shape. I think that you got to keep that dynamic together and intact, but you got to build on it. And that building is internal pitching. All right. It is the one thing they've fallen short on. We all know that. They need starting pitching and they got to play better defense. These are the keys for me. These are the things I'm going to be looking at. What did they do to get better? And don't sign some has-been. 5 years ago he's a defensive whiz kid. He's lost 3 steps. Jose Iglesias would have been a good choice as a utility infielder. He certainly would have played a hell of a better shortstop than Kike did. But he's not the answer right now. So you don't want to get lied to. This is serious stuff, and we talked about it. When we had the postseason grades. It's weekend. That's not going to be a love fest. Especially when the team just get down the drain again, and they've got to stand up there in front of the fans and go, "We mean business." So I think there's a lot to be said about that. So I'm going to be looking very closely at what they do in the front office and see what kind of messages they're sending, by the people that they hire and some of the actions that they do. So.
Yeah, me personally, I think it's going to be another slow off season where a lot of the bigger names might not get signed till after winter weekend. But as long as the Red Sox are making us some changes periodically, additions to make the team better before free agency even starts, I think that's a good thing to go in the right direction for us. I think we have a great young core, but our main thing we need, and if we don't get, is starting pitching. So we have to make a splash in free agency. It might not be the first day, it might not be the first week, but it's got to be made, and it's got to happen. So, guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening. Head on over to iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Check out and download our episodes. Go over to your YouTube if you want to watch the live shows. Head on over to our website. Get yourself a Pesky Podcast shirt. Get your wife a Pesky Party Girl shirt. Sit down and listen to the podcast together. And, well, for my man DC, for the OG George Sutherland and myself, thanks for tuning in to the Pesky Podcast. Until next time.